Hey guys, my name is Yasmin and I'm coming here today to talk to you guys a little bit about whether people of color should be attending predominantly private white institutions or not. First off, I would like to say I attend the Tabor Academy. I would like to acknowledge my appreciation for the education that I obtained. I would like to acknowledge my appreciation for the people that I met. I met some really incredible people over there from all across the world. I would like to acknowledge the opportunities that school allowed me and provided for me, and this video is in no way negating any of those things, nor is it negating the impact the people I met over there made on me. Miss J, Mr. Nas, Miss Williams, Miss McCain, the Millette. Without further ado, I would like to get into a little bit of the things that I experienced while I was at boarding school, and kind of lead into whether or not I believe we should be attending these institutions. So first off, the first week I went to Tabor, I was in my history class, and we had the assignment of, creating a simulation of a developed country and an underdeveloped country. My group was the developed country and the other half of the group or the class was the underdeveloped country. I had just come from New York, and I was thrown into this very, very white preppy setting. I had not imagined Tabor being what it was. I didn't have a very good understanding of what boarding school really was, other than the fact that I would get a good education. I would be provided with opportunities I wouldn't have if I stayed where I grew up in Queens, New York. So I was in the class, and suddenly half of the classroom is staring at me, and I just came from New York, so I'm looking at them like, can I help you? Like, what's the issue? And one of the girls on the other side of the classroom, she's telling me, they're trying to brainstorm a underdeveloped country, and their group is trying to debate over whether or not there are black Muslim people, but the girl knew I was Muslim and I'm black, so she was telling her group that yes, it is possible for black and Muslim people to exist. I was nothing short of shocked. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know. Like, I just didn't know. My teacher at the time was a new teacher, granted, and I probably said something rude to the girl. My thing was, when we were leaving class, I was held back. And my teacher began to ask me, how I could have handled this situation better. I would like to acknowledge I grew very close to this teacher. We both learned a lot from each other, I would say. But the rhetoric of problematic things happening in the classroom and me being the one held back and asked how could I have done better was something that was not limited to that one class or that one incident. In fact, it was a trend, and it was very present throughout my 4 years at boarding school. This is problematic because instead of addressing the root of the issue, the child who is uneducated and offensive, we're addressing the way the person who is offended handled that situation, and instead of educating that child on how and where she went wrong, we're reprimanding the person who is burdened with responding or handling the situation with what they could have done to teach the child better. And I think this was also a very present thing throughout my education. I found myself having to put my education on the back burner. I felt like I was there, I was given the money to go there so that I could be a teacher, but I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. And I think it is unfair, it's wrong, and it's just wrong to put that burden on children, to teach the other children when there are teachers there who are not only paid but perfectly capable of correcting the student in the wrong. Later that year, I had some issues with my hair. My hair used to be very, very long. I cut it all off recently. And when I first had went to boarding school, the showers were significantly smaller than what I was used to. So I brought this issue up to my dorm parent, and you know, we would talk about it, and there were handicapped bathrooms in the lobby of my dorm, but they were locked, and I would just ask them, like, is there a possibility to open up these handicapped bathrooms, because I have difficulty washing my hair properly in these small showers. And the response I was given was that my dorm parent would have to check in with the director of equity and inclusion, aka the token black woman on campus, if this was a valid issue or not. The thing that is wrong with this, there are many things that are wrong with this. First of all, the invalidation of, you know, what I'm experiencing, and needing someone who is an adult to validate the things I'm going through, and not only who is an adult, but who is a black woman to validate the things I'm going through. And this was a pattern throughout the course of my education. My sophomore year was pretty awful. It was the year that Donald Trump was elected, and there were a lot of very proud, very boastful Trump supporters at my school. Despite this, we're not even going to go into that situation. We were reading Huck Finn my sophomore year in my English class. It was me and this other black girl in the class, and our teacher, before reading the book, we read an article about the importance of the N-word. And before we began reading the book, my teacher felt the need to give my white peers permission to use this word while reading the book, because it was there for a reason and it was important. Without trying to speak to me and the other black girl in the classroom beforehand, without asking us if it made us uncomfortable, without any of that, without any, you know, regard, without any care, without, you know, any prior steps. He felt as if he had the power and the right to, you know, give permission to use a slur, a racial slur, in the classroom for the sake of learning. During that same year, my school does not take off the day for MLK Day. Instead, we had an assembly my sophomore year. I think we had an assembly on the weekend or something like that. But the day before, the black girls, there's not many of them, the black girls were, majority of them were in one group chat, and we decided we were going to all wear black. This happened for no other reason than there was a holiday we identified with and it wasn't being celebrated, and we took it amongst ourselves to celebrate it. So we all showed up to school in black the next day. We took a picture with the director of inclusivity and diversity with the Black Power sign up. In between classes. It was not planned, it was spur of the moment. We're all wearing black, let's take a picture, solidarity. Next thing you know, the picture is being sent around in a group chat of kids who do not even go to the school. And this girl is talking about how, you know, she felt unsafe. She felt attacked and excluded because, you know, it's a bunch of black kids wearing black. And what if white kids wore all white, which by the way is commencement. We all wear all white. You know, and it turned into this whole spectacle. And of course we're angry and we're mad because we're taking it amongst ourselves to celebrate something that we feel is not being recognized in our community, and we're met with antagonization. We brought it to the attention of the deans. We spent all day in their office crying, literally, and you know, we're going back and forth, and they promised us that they will handle it. They promised us that they will handle it. A week goes by, someone's putting up posters of the girl's face, saying free her, Nothing happened to her, so I don't know why they felt that was necessary. You know, we bring that to the deans, we'll handle it. Okay. A week later, the head of school emails us to come to his office. We go to his office. I think the meeting lasted about 3 hours. This is during the school day, so we're a bunch of children missing out on school to, you know, voice our complaints and dissatisfaction and uncomfort in the institution that we go to. So I don't remember anything resulting out of that meeting. I could be wrong though. So that happened. And I say this to say, as people of color at predominantly white institutions, I find a pattern that, you know, people can say and do what they want. And when you take up issue with it, you need validation from someone who is an adult. Number two, it is met with sugarcoating and talking. Talking can only accomplish so much. As you have probably watched on the news, the nation, we have not made all these changes in the past 11 days if the nation did not get set on fire. I'm not saying that it's right, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but when you sit down and speak to somebody nicely and that's the only thing that they know, you know there's no repercussion. You don't see the pain of others. And it's sugar-coated. It's you know, it's diluted, the effect of your words and your actions, what they do to others. And I think that it's important to recognize a school that prides itself so much on diversity and equity and inclusion. What are you doing to combat these racist prerogatives in your school when they are handed to you on a silver platter? When somebody of color comes up to you and says, I have experienced this, that, and the third, what do you do besides speak to them nicely and say, don't do that? Because that can only accomplish so much, evidently. Colin Kaepernick knelt on one knee for so long and was ridiculed and, you know, blacklisted. What can that do? What do you want to do with that? Do you want to do anything with that? I think these are very, very important questions that I encourage the administration of Tabor Academy to ponder. Junior year, the first weekend of school, I believe, I was with my white friends, and, you know, they were hinting at this white boy saying something about me. And, you know, I was confused because I don't know you, why are you speaking on me? So I ended up finding out what he was saying, and he was basically saying a week prior I had made a post coming to school, and I had captioned it with the countdown to the next break, because I had been dreading returning back to Tabor. It was a very exhausting, draining, and toxic environment for me as well as other students of color. So yes, the first day I arrived, I was counting down. I was counting down to the next break. And the boy, he had said, you know, if you don't like it here, like, why are you staying? You know, you're taking spots from, you know, my white friends that needed financial aid. So I had to go look for him, because what are you talking about, and why are you saying it to everybody but me? So I find the boy, I'm speaking to him, and I'm like, you know, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? And he's very serious, very, very serious, looking in my face and telling me about how, you know, he has a bunch of white friends, you know, who would have loved to come to Tabor, and, you know, they couldn't because they didn't get the financial aid. And I'm sitting there wondering, what in the world does that have to do with me? Because as far as I'm concerned, we all went through the same application process. As far as I'm concerned, we all went through the same admissions team. And if your white friend went through the same admissions team as me, the admissions team deemed your white friend not worthy and me worthy. So that does not have to do with me. If they were supposed to get into the school, if they were the standard, or if they fit whatever the school was looking for, I'm sure, I'm positive they would have been accepted. I'm positive they would have been allocated financial aid. But to sit in my face, not even in my face, but in my friend's face, and tell them about, you know, how I'm taking money out of your white friend's pocket. Who told you I'm on financial aid? Why are you assuming I'm on financial aid? Why do you think you have the right? These are all very important questions that were definitely raised to faculty, to administration, and he was spoken to. And I was spoken to too, because I handled the situation. I could have handled the situation better. So by the time I was a senior, I was beyond happy, ecstatic to have it be my last year at this institution. The thing about my senior year was that I felt a personal responsibility to make sure I was doing everything I could for the freshmen, especially the girls of color, because I remembered my experience as a freshman. I remembered, you know, how much the senior girls of color meant to me. So I felt the personal responsibility to do my part, to be an ally to them, to be a leader to them, to, you know, use my voice to help them. I went to this conference in December called Student Diversity Leadership Conference. It was in Tennessee, and I'm eternally grateful for attending this conference. It changed my life. If you've ever been awarded the opportunity to go. But when I went to SDLC, I had the honor of listening to Marc Lamont Hill speak, and he had just recently, I think that week, he got fired from CNN for, you know, voicing his support for, you know, the removal of the illegal occupation of Israel. That's another story for another time. But Marc was talking to us about this concept of love, you know, and I had gone around my Tabor career thinking, I hate it here. Like, I hate it here. I hate being here. I hate existing here. I don't know other than hate. And Marc made me realize that that's not what I felt. He talked a lot about love, you know, and love is accepting somebody for who and what they are, no matter what they are. And I realized that my issue with Tabor was, you know, I had loved the school. You know, I had given the school everything that I could. You know, I was constantly being asked to be a leader. I was constantly asked to facilitate conversations. I was constantly asked to be in stage photo shoots. I was constantly asked to write articles which were then altered, heavily edited, because they did not fit the perception of what the school was going for. I was constantly asked to give and give and give. It was this idea of, you know, we're paying for your education, so you're indebted to us, is what I felt. But I realized Tabor had never loved me. I realized, you know, down to my friends, my white friends did not love me, because I would be, you know, experiencing things, and I would be going through things, and I didn't see them standing up for me. I realized, you know, the school did not love me because it could take and it could take and it could take, but it could never give back. I realized the school did not love its faculty of color because it employs them to check a box, you know. But do you want Tabor, do you want these faculty of color to actually do their jobs? Do you want them to implement ways to make your school more inclusive, more equitable, and more diverse for everyone? Or do you want them to sit in their office just to say, we have a black person sitting in their office? I think these are very important questions that, you know, it took me to my senior year to realize that this school did not love. Because it can take and it can take and it can take, and it never realizes that it should give back. So I say all of this to say, should students of color be attending predominantly white private institutions? And I thought about this question a lot. While I was at boarding school, I thought about it while I was at my HBCU. I'm thinking about it now as the nation is on fire. And I don't know. I don't know, because in the same breath of students of color deserving to get this education that is not provided to them in the places that they grow up, in the same breath of, you know, students of color deserving to occupy these spaces, in the same breath of students of color deserving, you know, all of these things that come with going to private school, does the school deserve us? What does the school show to say that they deserve us? Does the school care about us? Does the school love us? I think if you look at how many people have called Tabor out in the recent week and their response, do you love us? Do you care about us? Or are your responses ingenuine? Are they there for the sake of your publicity? Are they there for the sake of, you know, being able to say you said something instead of nothing? If they are ingenuine, we don't want them, because you essentially did not say anything. I think that, you know, I really don't know. I don't know if students of color should be going to these institutions. I do know that these institutions do not love us like they say they do. And it makes me think that we need to build our own institutions that will love us like they say they do. And it makes me think that, you know, everybody who is complicit, everybody who, you know, see wrong things happening but don't say anything, it makes me think of, you know, my white peers who saw me struggling day in and day out. It makes me think of my classmates who saw my teachers calling me the wrong name halfway through the semester and did not say anything. It makes me think that you didn't love me either. It makes me know that you did not love me either. You do not love me like you say you do. And it makes me fearful of the people that I left behind, because they too have to endure what I endured. They too have to endure what the class of 92 endured. They too have to endure what the first person of color at Tabor had to endure. And yes, you're making small progressions on the backs of students of color, because we are the ones who are burdened with changing the faults in your institution. It makes me wonder if you guys really want to change, or if you just want to say you want to change. A lot of open-ended questions. Tabor Academy, I've addressed you on Instagram. I've addressed you on Facebook. I'm addressing you on YouTube. Hopefully, I will get an answer that's adequate. I will get an answer that is coming from an honest and, you know, truthful place of wanting to be better, wanting to do whatever it takes to be better, and not just saying you want to be better. Time will tell.